Hi, I'm Dave. This is the Cyderbaby show, and today I am talking to the legend that is Adrian Vandenberg. Hello.
Good morning. How are you? That was
I'm
pretty
very
proud.
well.
I hope I can live on to that pretty impressive introduction. I'll do my best.
Well, you're a legend in your own lifetime, aren't you? I mean, you're the man, really. You're the man with a guitar.
No, well, I'm a man with a guitar. Yeah, I don't see myself as a legend, or I'm better at cooking than at playing guitar, I think.
Really?
But
Okay. What's your favorite dish then?
well, I have a whole bunch of them. The last 6 years, I'm very committed to making like the perfect Napolitana pizza, which is
Okay.
a different pizza than people are usually are familiar with. You know, it's one it has like a really big airy crust, and it's really amazing. I had one in it was in London actually years ago, and I thought, wow, this is a different pizza than I know. So I started to do some research, and up to this day, at least, well, probably twice a week or something, I'll throw myself on it. I have a whole bunch of other ones, you know, Indian food, Thai
Yeah.
food, some English stuff actually.
There is
Years
English food
ago,
that's tasty.
it is, yeah. I started working on a Yorkshire pudding, and shepherd's pie is easy, you know, but a good
Yeah.
one with good quality ingredients, you can wake me up any time of night for that stuff.
We're not here to talk about food. We're here to talk about you and your new album, Sin.
Sin, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited about it. Well, everybody would say that about the new album, you know, but for me, it's always a sign when the album is finished, and I feel the urge when I'm in my car to play it for my own entertainment. It's always a good sign,
Yeah.
and I've been doing that because yeah, you know, there's something about it that it makes me realize that when I started earlier on in making music and writing songs and all that stuff, that in the back of your mind you always have the as a writer everyone who listens to the show and writes music or whatever will recognize that. In the back of your mind, you always have like a certain sound that you're aiming for, and
Mm.
in the early '80s with the early Vandenberg, it was this kind of sound, but I didn't have the experience and also not the band, to be honest. You know, they were
Yeah.
fine musicians, but it was a different level than what I managed to dig out of the gutter this time, you know, and so to speak. Those guys are amazing, you know, and it's I'm just doing my best to keep up with the level of musicianship that they have, and it's a challenge. So
Okay.
I'm playing the album for my own entertainment in the car, you know, like old style. Turn up the volume and open the windows and just drive away and bam, you know, rock out.
Excellent, excellent. So tell me about the album. I mean, it starts with thunder and lightning. I mean, it's quite an explosive start.
Yeah, you know, when I came up with the intro for the song, I thought, oh, that would be a great track to start the album with because it's a little unexpected, you know, out of the blue you get, you know, in your face,
Yeah,
you go, what the fuck's going on over here, you know, and then you get another one at a different timing that you would expect, you know, you would expect to stay in like a 4 bar beat type of thing, then it starts a little earlier or later or whatever, I can't remember, but it's one of those tracks, you know, that will also be a good set opener in a live show, I
yeah.
suppose.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I mean, I saw you for the first time last year actually when you played at Stone Dead Festival.
Oh, cool. That was an interesting. Yeah, the thing is, after COVID, I mean, every musician will know about this. And COVID, as we know, threw everything upside down. And
Mm,
as an artist or as a band, you were not in the well-oiled machine situation, like playing constantly, you know. So we had a couple of haphazard. Wow, it's the first time I've ever used that word. I always wanted to use that word, haphazard. It sounds really cool. But anyway,
yeah.
finally I got to use it. So we had a show here and there. You know, actually the very first show we did without actually having been able to do a proper rehearsal was the festival, the rock. What was it again? Like it was in Wales. It was not the Stone Dead. It was the
Steelhouse or something?
Rockstock, the
Rockstock,
Rockstock
sorry, yeah.
Festival.
Yeah.
And that was in a period that in Holland or any other continental country, apart from some East European countries, but they fuck around over there all the time anyway. So, but in Holland, we weren't allowed to play. So suddenly we found ourselves playing in front of some 2,500 happy Brits, and it was great, to finally be on the stage again. And then there was a whole time nothing because we couldn't play here, and our European tour had been we cancelled and we programmed and cancelled and we programmed. So that was our first show in this lineup, and it was quite exciting actually.
Yeah, yeah.
And then being in Wales in wintertime, that's another adventure.
Yes. I can imagine. Yes, I know Wales a little bit, and yeah, wintertime's wonderful.
It is, man. Yeah. Well, and it was in that we were staying in summer holiday little cabins, that are basically built for summer holidays. And it was, the wind was blowing and it was raining and the skies were gray. So I was asking myself, Tom Jones, where are you? He's from Wales, So I thought he was going to hang out, but he didn't.
No, I think he's in sunnier climate of like California or something like that at the moment.
Yeah, getting women's knickers thrown at his head, I believe.
Yeah, does that ever happen to you?
Oh man, oh yes, in the United States, bras and knickers and all that stuff,
Really?
Fortunately, they were from young girls and not from grown women, where they usually tend to wear bigger underwear over time. But it was still doable, yeah, those were serious adventures.
Okay.
As you can imagine.
Yes. Let's go back to the album, shall we?
Yeah, otherwise you can't. They're gonna withdraw your program if you're not careful.
I actually own a radio station I play on. So
there you go. No problem.
Yeah, I can do what I like, really.
Good. Don't get me started.
No, okay. Right. I knew this was going to be a good interview, but yeah. House of Fire, I've been playing that on the radio. It's a great track.
Right.
Why did you choose that as a single? Or was that?
I thought it was a good rockin' track that showcased the musicianship of this band. Actually, except for me, I'm just plodding along, But it shows how great a singer Mats Levin is, and not everybody knows him, but they will now. And
certainly do.
And it's a great rocking track. It makes you happy, It's kind of track that you want to put on your car, open up the window, and crank it up, So I thought it would be a great introduction to this album.
Yeah. One track I've got to ask you about, Sin. I mean, it's a title track. I mean, what is the story behind Sin?
As usually, I always start with the music, Whenever I pick up my guitar, and as Keith Richards unusually eloquently puts it, he said you put up some kind of a mental antenna and you hope that it picks up something. So it always happens when I pick up my guitar, the stuff, riffs are happening, and I get ideas for vocals and for all that stuff. So I had all the instrumental bits and pieces already recorded on my iPad, where I usually make my demos on, and I was on a big walking hike, so as it's called apparently, a hike. It's an interesting word, but and at some point I picked my mental antenna, in the words of Keith Richards, picks up all the lyrics for the intro verse, the quiet bit, and of the chorus. Over in the mountains, the clouds are steep, the whole bit. So I burped it into my iPhone, as I usually do, and then I sent it to Mats, and along with the instrumental bits. And I said, "Do you have any ideas for the verses?" So he came up with this great verses and to complete the whole story, basically. And that fell together in a very natural way, and it ended up being 7 minutes, almost, as you know.
Yeah.
So I convinced my record company, Mascot, to put it out as a single because everybody puts out singles that last like 3.5 minutes. And I thought, let's do something different, something unexpected. So I'm very excited about the album because it's about that track. It's about the album too, but about the track because it's a whole story. It's almost like a cinematographic thing. You can see like a whole film unfolding when you put your headphones on. So yeah, I'm very excited that they actually went along with it and released it as a quote unquote single because of course, what is a single these days?
Well, it's a snapshot of an album that's about to come out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah,
but
right.
it's quite an epic snapshot, I've got to say. I mean, I love the track. I mean, I suppose for me, my favorite song of the album has got to be "Walking on Water."
Oh, great! You picked that one too. That's among my own favorites too. It's
Okay.
it with that one musically, I managed to make a link between as people some people will know. I've always been ever since my very first solo album was when I was 20. Well, my solo band that I put together, whatever you want to call it. I my roots have always been very heavily in the British stuff, like Zeppelin, Cream, especially Free and Bad Company, and Walking on Water ended up like a track that could have been a Bad Company track if Bad Company would make an album right now, these days. And I got inspired with a track also with my solo that I think is very much linked to my one of my all-time heroes, Eric Clapton, in his Cream days. I've always been inspired whenever I'm stuck in a rut and I don't pick up my guitar as often as I usually do. Sometimes I ask myself, I'm going to go back to the guys that inspired me to play, which was Clapton in his Cream days and Hendrix and Jeff Beck and guys like Michael Schenker, Brian May, those guys. And that was one of those moments where I think, yeah, I'm going to play like whatever comes up in my mind, and it's always echoes of the guys that I mentioned,
Yeah.
So yeah, that became one of my favorite tracks to also play in the car, at high volume.
Okay. I mean, the album is out on the 25th of August, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's approaching.
It is approaching. We're only less than just about a month away, and 5 weeks, something like that. Are you going to be playing the UK at all? Are we going to be able to see
Yes,
you again?
absolutely. Yeah. We have a British agent, fortunately, and he Brendan O'Brien. No, Brendan. His name is Brendan. He used to work with O'Brien Agency. And he has been putting together a British club tour, 5, 6, 7, 8 shows or something,
Okay.
and it's supposed to take place in November, but I'm not sure at what stage it is right now. I'm expecting to hear from it like the sooner the better because we've only done 2 shows in Britain this far. There's one coming up, of course, in the so-called release weekend.
Okay.
We played the 100 Club in London, which is supposedly a pretty small club, but it's pretty legendary because I'm totally familiar with who play there. I mean, it's like hallowed ground basically.
Yeah.
The Who, Metallica, Led Zeppelin, everybody played there. So that's a great place. That's going to be. I'm really looking forward to it because I've never been there. I read about it, of course, over the last decades. So I'm going to have to keep myself not to kiss the ground because I don't think it would be a very very aesthetic, very aesthetical way to enter.
You may want to take some antibiotics with you, just in case if you do.
Exactly. So yeah, the first visit to the bathroom is going to be quite an experience too, I assume.
Yeah. Okay. In your past, I mean, you've played some big places, haven't you? I mean, you played in a small band. I think was it called White Snake or something like that?
Yeah, they were an up and coming, pretty talented singer. I think.
Yeah,
I heard about them.
Yeah,
I think I heard
may
some
have heard
demos.
Yeah, Notal 2, I think I've heard. I mean, I mean, are you aspiring to be that kind of band again? I mean, Vandenberg should have been that big back in the day, you know, and you're well known, you're legendary, everybody knows you. Are you sort of like hoping to take the band as it is now and just say, right, I want to conquer the world?
Well, to be honest, I never had that ambition in that sense of the word. Um, for me, I started playing music because I love playing this kind of rock, and I never had, and that's probably why I don't really think about it too much. When I was a teenager, and also in my 20s, and even when I started Vandenberg, including the first record contract, I never had the illusion that I was going to be able to get out of Holland playing the kind of rock that's the only thing I want to play.
Mm,
I never had the ambition to kind of sink away into jazz or like lounge blues type of bands. For me, it has to have that fire and the spark and all that stuff. So since I started out not even having that illusion, even in the heydays of Whitesnake, whenever I woke up in some posh hotel in the 1987 days, 1980, and even when we headlined Wembley Stadium, I always thought, if I'm going to wake up tomorrow and this is all over, nobody's ever going to take these memories away from me. So
mm.
that's always been my train of thought and my frame of mind, so to speak. So even now, I'm just really grateful that I get to that I'm able to make these kind of records and to do shows with this kind of band. And I know we can share the stage with any band in my genre.
Mm,
But since there's so many factors involved, record company, agents, being able to tour, the costs of touring has gone totally out of hand. So it's pretty difficult to put a tour together and even break even.
yeah,
So for me, I'm just really happy to be able to do shows with this band and anywhere, wherever they were welcomed. And I don't I'm actually, as I mentioned before, I'm just really really happy to play a 100 club or a stadium anywhere. I don't care as long as I can make noise with my band and I'm happy.
yeah. You better introduce the band. I don't think we've actually said who they are in the who you have associated with you these days. I think it's
Well, I managed to track down an incredible singer called Mats Levin. He's from
yeah.
Stockholm, Sweden. He's been around for quite a while. He grew up in his record company. He had a record collection. He had the first two Vandenberg albums, so
Oh,
it was
what
quite a
star?
coincidence. The more metal-oriented fans will know him from a band called Candlemass.
Yeah.
It was another, yeah, Scandinavian band, really good, a lot darker than what we do with Vandenberg. So a lot of people were surprised to hear Mats sing on these singles, and they go, "Where the fuck does this guy come from?" Because in the glorious 80s, he had a Swedish band called Treat, and they were really good, but they didn't really get out of Sweden. I
Okay.
think they did some stuff in Japan or something, but then again, who didn't? But so when we played the United States 2 months ago, people were blown away. They go, "Where the hell does the singer come from?" They didn't know him. So when we played a couple of Whitesnake tracks like Still of the Night, he pulls it off easily, and he's got the power that David had in his peak days. So yeah, that gives us the opportunity to play a lot of Whitesnake tracks from the period that I was involved in Whitesnake, which was 30 years almost, and also
It's not that
play
long,
the
surely.
yeah, that's a long time, man. I must have been in my diapers when I joined Whitesnake.
Yeah, you and me both, pal.
Yeah, man. So yeah, it's just great because he can sing the Vandenberg stuff and the Whitesnake stuff and the new stuff as everybody can tell. So it's the perfect guy, and I got a great drummer called Koen Herfst. He's been known as the best rock drummer in the Benelux already for ages, and a relatively young bass player called Randy van der Elzen. who skipped a couple of generations in his love for rock music because he loves Led Zeppelin and Cream and Rainbow and Deep Purple and all the good stuff from Britain, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah, we got a great lineup, and I'm very, very, very happy with it.
brilliant. I've got to mention the artwork of the album as well. I mean, I do love the sharks.
Thanks, man.
Uh,
Thanks. Yeah, it was for me. It kind of made sense when I revamped Vandenberg and started with the 2020 album with
mm,
reintroducing the logo. I thought, man, it would be a great thing to make another painting like I did for Vandenberg 2 and 3 in that style and reintroduce the sharks, you know.
yeah,
And if people remember the second Vandenberg album, 1983, holy shit. Um, I'm surprised I was even born then. But anyway, there was this painting with those sharks flying over a highway, and
yeah,
nobody knew where they were going. So I thought it would be great to let them fly into New York, the city of sin. There's
yeah,
a connection with the title of the album, and also known as the apple. So in the biblical sense of the word, where the sin, the original sin, was with the snake and the apple. So there's the connection, and the connection with the sharks. But I was a little overly confident about making another painting in that style because the last painting that I made in this style was the Vandenberg Alibi album
right.
from 1986. And I thought, I'll do that, you know. But it took a couple of days longer than I was expecting. I thought, I'll do it in 3 days. Well, only just the sky already took me 3 days because I wanted to make a sky like the Northern Light sky, you know.
Yeah,
But to get that depth in the in print, it's more difficult to see. But on the real painting, there's
mm,
layer on layer on layer, and then they need to dry every day, you know. So I thought, holy shit, I'm never going to be able to finish it because I needed to fly to Los Angeles to finish the recording and the mixing. So my flight was already booked. So I worked full time, like 18 hours a day to finish the painting, and I did it just in time. You know, a friend of mine picked it up when I was already on the plane, took it to the photographer, and the photographer sent the photo to my record company Mascot. So it was one of those days, you know, where well, the story of my life basically, where I finished everything way too late.
I'd love to speak to you longer about your artwork as well, but I can't keep you too long. I mean, I think we've only got about half an hour, so we'll wrap it up there. Sir, Sin is out on the 25th of August. I wish you all the very best with it, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today.
Thanks, Dave. My pleasure. And I really hope to play Britain as soon as possible.
Brilliant. Thank you. Take care of yourself.
Thanks, you too, and bye to everybody, and hope to see you soon.